My case presentation is in regard to the Violence Against Women Act Reauthorization 2013, Title IX. Americans and Alaskan Indians are more than twice as likely to be victims of violent crimes. These women are suffering. 84.3% will suffer personal violence in their lifetime. 34% are raped, 39% are domestic violence victims, 56% of these women are victims of sexual violence, and 55% will suffer physical violence by their domestic partner. Why are these offenders not prosecuted? Sadly, there is no U.S. jurisdiction on the Indian reservations up until the installation of this new amendment. Crimes were not reported, and there's a lack of prosecutorial system in place. All of this stems from a Supreme Court case in 1978, Oliphant v. Suquamish Indian Tribe. This case ruled that tribal courts have no jurisdiction in regard to non-Indian defendants. This impacted these women victims of crimes because the Indian criminal system had no recourse to prosecute these offenders. 35 years later, an amendment was made to override this heinous ruling in this case. Title IX came and changed these rulings. It amends the Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968. Now tribal courts have jurisdiction over offenders who are non-Indian that fall in the following criteria. If they've been involved in domestic violence, dating violence, or are violators of protective orders. The United States and the federal government will also retain jurisdiction over these offenders. It is important to point out that this provision does not cover sexual assault, elder abuse, and child abuse. This amendment went into effect in 2015. While the tribes are optimistic, they have issues that they need to overcome to make it a victory. There are obstacles, limited resources to build a criminal justice facilities. Every step from law enforcement through the criminal court system must be put in place to handle their cases. It's also, as a side note, important to point out that the victims and these offenders must have some type of connection with each individual tribe where this crime was committed. I've selected this topic because I am disturbed at the amount of crime against our Native American and Alaskan American sisters. Theirs is a voice that has been silenced far too long. This lack of jurisdiction and care has been a travesty, and I feel that it has put these women at a particularly high risk as victims because there's been no repercussions. These women have been targets. I am thankful and hopeful that this amendment will finally allow prosecutorial due diligence against the offenders that prey on Native American women. There's an alarming rate of unreported violence and disappearance of women on the reservations of our country. It's time that their cries for help are heard. It's also important to note that when there are still exceptions in place, such as the fact that it does not include elder abuse and does not include child abuse, we are far, far away from calling this anything other than a step in the right direction.